What do you mean Bitcoin's down? Again. Hello and welcome back to the weekly crypto review. So, Bitcoin's having a bit of a problem. Actually, all crypto is having a bit of a problem. We're going sideways, and that's a problem for a lot of people. If we go over here to our charts, first off, if you find this information valuable, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you really like it and you think I'm doing a really good job, feel free to go to cryptocurious.tv/support and send a little crypto my way. So let's take a look at the charts. This is the daily Bitcoin chart, and the only reason I'm showing it to you is because I want you to see the last couple of days we've dropped down into the high 8,000s. We were in the 9 to 10,000s. We're in a slight channel here. Now you're going to find people who are going to draw. Let's see if I can find my proper tool here. Oh, that's not what I want. I want this. You're going to find people who are going to draw something like this. And yeah, about like that. Whoops, did I not pull my... They're going to try and draw, lines that make no sense whatsoever. And say, well, we're in this kind of wedge. No, we're not in any kind of wedge. We're at this point, we really aren't. We're just moving sideways. And honestly, that's no big deal. Let's take a look here at the weekly. And there we go. That's a little bit better. The weekly is going to give us a lot more information as far as where we've been and where we're going. Okay, we do have something of a wedge going on here in the weekly. All right, I'm not going to draw the lines because at this point there's really no point in it. We're moving sideways. That's what I expect. Honestly, that is what I have been expecting this whole time. Last week I talked about how I didn't want the price of Bitcoin to go up above its previous highs at 20,000 until after the halving happens, because up until this point that has never happened. Well, this week I've got some proof. First, let's take a look here at what we've got as far as go back here to currencies. So over the last 7 days, which is this column here, Bitcoin's down 3%, almost 3.75%, almost 4%. And if we look at the big gainers for the week, all of those altcoins that we were looking at earlier are gone. They're not to be seen anywhere. Okay, that's fine. Again, not concerned about it. And you shouldn't be either. And let me make this clear. None of this is ever financial advice. In order for it to be financial advice, one, I would still have to have my broker-dealer licenses, and two, I would have to be talking to you individually to find out what your individual time frame and risk assessment and all that is. I can't do that here. There's just no way. So this is not financial advice in any way. I'm simply giving you some information that I find useful. So we're looking down here, and I believe that BAT is up over the last week by 0.11%. Great, fantastic. There are 37 coins that are up for the last week, and BAT is the 37th. Great, fantastic. No worries. The rest are down. And again, no worries. We're in the accumulation phase. Now, what do I mean by that? We're in that phase of the market where people are accumulating more of the assets that they want, that they expect to go up. If we look at, let's see here. Yeah, we'll use this one. So if we look at this chart here, This is the number of days that Bitcoin has been profitable versus the number of days that it has not been profitable. And what it's saying is, and if we can get over here, let's see if I can get. So it's saying basically, yeah, that says 7,300. But if it's basically what it's telling us, there we go, is if you bought at $10,000, you're down. Your investment is down. Basically, and honestly, with the price where it is, which is what, 7,300? I'm sorry, 8,700, 8,785. So if you bought above 8,800, you're down. But you are in a very small minority of those people who bought at the top. As this chart points out, there have been 3,162 days where if you bought Bitcoin, you're profitable. Bitcoin is worth more than what you paid for it. And that's out of a total of 33,370 days. So that means that 93.8% of the days that you could have bought Bitcoin out of the entire 11 years that Bitcoin has been around, 93.8% of those days, if you'd bought Bitcoin, any random number, any random day you bought Bitcoin, chances are Bitcoin is worth more than what you paid for it. Okay? There is no other asset that I can think of that can make this claim. Absolutely none. Certainly not with this kind of track record. We're looking at 11 years. Only 11 years. So unless you bought above what the price is today, and yeah, I mean, there are people who did that. The reason they call it contrarian investing, buy low, sell high, is called contrarian investing. And the reason they call it contrarian is because it's contrary to what everybody usually does. And I've said it many times. What people do is they wait for a stock or an asset, whatever the asset may be, whether it's crypto, stock, bonds, whatever. They wait for the price to go way up and become worth something, okay? And then they buy in, and then they wonder why it dropped immediately or within days or weeks after they bought in. They're looking for a long-term investment, and all of a sudden, this sure thing that was making all this money suddenly drops off a cliff, and they don't understand why. Well, that's because they bought way up here at the top, okay? The same thing happened. I mean, this is the top of the last bull market. Everybody bought right up here because Jim Cramer and CNBC and MSNBC and everybody else was talking about Bitcoin every day. Bloomberg was talking about Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin, and is it really worth this much? Is it really worth $20,000 per coin? Well, yes, because that's what people were paying for it. The problem is that the people who paid $20,000 a coin for it then almost immediately saw it drop down to $3,000 a coin. And most of them, the vast majority, 99.999% of them, immediately got out and lost $17,000 immediately. It took a year for it to drop down to $3,000. But as soon as they got in and it dropped, most of them jumped right back out and vowed, I'm never gonna go into cryptocurrency or Bitcoin again ever. This is a scam. They stole my money. I mean, this is what you hear from investors who don't know what they're doing. Investors who go into people, and I shouldn't call them investors, people who go into an investment without understanding what it is they're investing in and how and the market that they're investing in. If they don't understand those two things, they are suckers and they are going to be fleeced. Never ever go into an investment or a market you do not at least understand the basics of. You don't have to be an expert, but you at least have to understand that price is going to go up and price is going to go down. If you don't understand those two things, and if you don't understand that price will not always go up, there is not a market in the world. There's nothing in the world. There's the old saying, what goes up must come down. It's an axiom because it's absolutely true. I remember 20 years ago, the dot-com bubble, when your average person on the street was talking about this is the new financial reality of the world. Companies don't need to make a profit to be worth money. I was in my mid-20s, early 30s at the time, and I'm looking at I'm listening to people talk about this, and I'm just shocked that they are so stupid, that they were so ignorant. And some of these people worked on Wall Street. Oh yeah, this is the new century. We don't need to have a profit anymore. Company doesn't need a profit in order to make money. What? Then Bitcoin comes along, cryptocurrencies come along, and it's a completely new paradigm of the idea of digital money. There's no physical aspect to it, and that throws people. And the idea that, well, it's not backed by anything, so how could it be worth anything? Well, the US dollar's not backed by anything. How can it be worth anything? So the other thing I wanted to point out here before I get to, I don't want this video to go too long. I want this to be a nice, short, and quick and easy. The other thing I want to point out to you is something that you may have heard before, and that's the stock to flow for Bitcoin. What is the stock to flow? Well, to put it simply, stock to flow is the ratio of Bitcoins in circulation relative to the amount of Bitcoins that are mined every year. Okay, and it's the ratio's relationship to the price. So basically, what this is showing you, and we'll go back here to the beginning of the last bull market, and we can look back. I told you last week, and I think the week before, how Bitcoin hasn't ever gone up above where its peak was. It peaked up in the last bull run, and then it dropped into the bear market. And then it started to come back up in the new bull run, but it didn't get past that previous peak until after the halving. After the halving is where that happens. Well, this is the chart that shows you how this works. So the color tells you how close you are to the halving. So this deep, dark, purple, maroonish color, which is right here, because the orange and red, is where the halving happens. So where it turns from purple to orange, right here. So we're looking at the 3rd of November, 2012. The price of Bitcoin was $10.60 a coin. Oh, if only I could buy it at $10.60 a coin. But immediately the price spikes up, and the halving was right there, right about that same time, just before that actually. It was right about here. I mean, we're looking at November 3rd, and it was just after it starts to go parabolic here about January 7th or so. So a couple of months after the halving, you can see the price jump up here to $237, and then drops down. It comes right back up, and instead $1,000, $1,083, which is about the peak, and then it goes down into its bear market. Okay, and as it goes, you see it get closer and closer. I mean, we're looking at the color change here, and you can look at this key to see what the color change means. So as this line gets darker and darker, we're getting closer to the halving. So here's the halving in August of 2016, and the price just after starts to move up. I mean, the price at the halving was $515 or thereabouts, and as we get past, we're in October now, and the price is $631. It's starting to go up. So it starts to really move up about 4 to 8 months after the halving. Okay. And then it goes up and it peaks. And then it drops back down. Okay. And so we've got this line here, this dark line that's going through, and that is the stock to flow 365-day average. What this is this is showing you that stock to flow average. So this line is the actual price that the stock to flow says Bitcoin should be. So if we look at where we're at, we're looking at, that's December. Let's see here, November 7th, which is yesterday. It's saying that the price should be $92.41. Well, we're at 8,700 now, so we're just below it, and we're dark blue. We're right here. We're we're certainly less than 200 days out from the halving. The halving is in May, and this is November, so a little over 6 months. Not quite 7, but between 6 and 7 months out. So just under 200 days from the halving. Okay, it's saying that right here, May 20th, which is where the halving is, and it's hard to see, but you see where it bumps up right there? And if I move my cursor up high enough, May 20th, I'm sorry, that's May 7th, 2020. It's saying that the price should be $97.49, but immediately it starts to bump up, okay, by the 20th of May, which is, the halving's like May 24th. So we're looking at 4 days before the halving. It's saying that the price should be around $10,000. Based on the stock to flow, that's where the price of Bitcoin should be, is about $10,000. A little more, a little less. But immediately right after that is where it starts to jump up, okay? And so we're looking at April 13th, 2021, where it starts to flatten out again, okay? So right about here, the end of April of 2021, it's saying that the price of Bitcoin should be around $95,000, $96,000, based on the stock to flow. So they're calling for, based on this stock to flow, around $100,000 per Bitcoin by the end of April 2021, which is what I and several others have been calling for, is $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of this bull market. Now, the other thing I want to point out is these bull markets, the price tends to go up way above the stock to flow. Okay, stock to flow, back in 2013, stock to flow was at $122, but the price was $1,151. Okay, we're talking $1,000. We're talking 10 times difference between what the stock to flow says it should have been and what it actually was. And over here at the last bull run, we'll do it December 21st. Stock to flow says it should have been $6,800. Well, we know that the actual price was $20. So we're looking at a 15,000. We're three times what the stock to flow says it should have been. So if we look here at April, thereabouts. Yeah, let's see here. Where are we? I'm trying to get it as close to this peak as possible. So, June, we'll go with June 8th. $109,000 is what it says, the stock to flow says it should be worth. Well, if we go up 3 times that amount, we're looking at a $300,000 Bitcoin. Okay? I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm pointing out that's what's happened in the past. And so my prediction, if that's what you want to call it, of a $250,000 Bitcoin is absolutely within the realm of possibility before the end of this next bull run. When will the bull run end? I'm going to say right around, probably between, I'm going to say most likely between January and June of 2021 is where I expect this bull run to end. I'm giving it a 6-month window because there's no one knows when. Absolutely no one knows when it's going to end. But based on this basic chart, we're looking at least $100,000 Bitcoin at that point. And as it gets close to $200,000, I'm going to start looking at pulling money out and putting it somewhere safe so I can retain the gains that I've got on my Bitcoin. I'm also going to be looking at other coins. What are they doing? Are they moving? Are they moving relative to Bitcoin, or are they surpassing Bitcoin? I may put some of my Bitcoin into these altcoins that are doing really well because I suspect that they're going to continue doing well even after Bitcoin peaks and starts to drop off. Making your money work for you. This is what investing is all about. Even if saving was worthwhile, and it hasn't been since we went off the gold standard in 1971, but let's say saving actually was worthwhile and you got a decent interest rate on money you put in the bank in a savings account. You're only going to get a certain amount, a certain percentage of interest every year. In order to make any decent money, you have to have a large amount of money in that account. Your money's just sitting there. The rich don't have savings accounts. The rich make their money work for them. They don't work for a wage. They don't work for a paycheck. They work for assets. As Robert Kiyosaki says, an asset is something that pays you. So your house isn't an asset. You're paying a mortgage. On the other hand, if you take in a roommate or two roommates and they're paying your mortgage for you, now your house is an asset because you're not paying for it, someone else is. Someone is paying you. So you're not putting money into it, they're putting money into it for you. The rich work for assets. The poor work for a paycheck. The way you become rich is to start working for assets. Bitcoin is an asset. You put money in and it goes up in price. You pull money out after it's risen, to a certain point. Hopefully hopefully around the time it peaks. Hopefully even if you leave it in, even if you just hodl, history has shown, and we'll go back here to this chart here. History has shown that even if you hodl, most 93.8% of the time, Bitcoin is going to be worth more than what you paid for it. Therefore, it's an asset. So even if you don't pull money out here at the peak and you let it drop all the way down here, sure, at this point, at the low of the bull of the bear market, this entire part is going to be red. Okay, everything across here is going to be in the red because you're lower than what you paid for it if you bought it anywhere up in here. But the next cycle, so let's say you bought it at the peak of the last cycle, and it drops down and you're losing money. Peak of the next cycle, you're in the money, you're making lots of money. The drop, the bear market, the low of the next bear market is still far above the peak of the previous bull market. And so therefore, let's see if I can get this line up properly. So this is the peak of the previous bear market, the one that was in 2013. All right, and it's around it's around $1,000. I think it was $1,100 was what the peak actually was. You see that even if you'd bought at that peak and you held on to it through the bear market and you let it ride up through the bull market in 2017 and the bear market of 2018, you see that you're still well above what you paid for that Bitcoin. So it's an asset. Even if you just buy it and hold it. Okay? But if you want to make a little more money, what you do, hopefully, is you swing trade it. You buy it wherever. You'd like to buy it down here at the low, at the bottom of the bear market. You'd love to buy it there or around that time. You hold on to it through the bull market, and then near this top, not right out, only the extremely lucky are going to ever sell at the top of the market. But around the top of the market, somewhere, and you'll know when it happens because I'm going to be telling you, hey, we're getting close here. We're getting really close. It's time to start pulling money out. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to tell you that. The others are going to tell you that. Only the fools, and this is where you're going to find out who the fools really are, because the fools are going to be the ones saying, "Oh yeah, it's going to continue going, and we're going to see $1 million in this bull market." No, I don't see that. 100,000, 200,000, maybe 300,000, but between somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000, which is, I know it's a massive window, but at this point, that's all I can give you because we're too far out. But as we get to the top of this market, and I start looking at it, and I start saying, we're in a bubble. We've gone parabolic. We've gone ballistic. It's mooning. Okay, time to start pulling some money out. Time to start realizing these gains that you've got, so that you don't lose it all. But again, even if you just leave it in and you go through the next bear market, I expect that, assuming that Bitcoin goes above $100,000 in this bull market, based on the basic math calculations I've done, I expect that the bottom of the bear market, of the next bear market, to be around $32,000, $33,000 a Bitcoin. The bottom of that bear market is going to be 3 times. See if I can come up with the words in the proper order. The price of Bitcoin at the bottom of the next bear market I expect is going to be 3 times the value of it, what it currently is. Let that sink in. If you buy Bitcoin now and you hold on to it and you don't sell it at the top of the market, I fully expect that what you'll end up with is a Bitcoin at the bottom of the next bear market that's still worth 3 times what you paid for it. That's not a bad deal at all. So holding on to your Bitcoin, that's a winning proposition right there. Selling at the top of the market for $100,000 or more, and then waiting for the bear market to bottom out at $32,000, $33,000. So let's assume you've got one Bitcoin. The market peaks at $100,000. And let's assume that you're able to pull it out. Let's assume that the market peaks a little above 100,000. So you pull it out at 100,000, whether it's before or after the peak doesn't matter. But you pull it out, so you pull $100,000 out from your Bitcoin investment, and you put it into a stable coin, whether that is DAI or some other stable coin, and you ride out the bear market, which is going to go for a year or so. And the price of Bitcoin bottoms out at we'll make a nice wide window, $30,000 to $35,000. Okay, let's assume $30,000. Okay, you then take your $100,000 and you buy, well, with $30,000, you're going to buy what, three and a third Bitcoins, 3.3 Bitcoins. You started with 1. But now you've got 3.3. The next bull market after this one, I expect that a Bitcoin will probably end up being worth more than $1 million. If you've got 3.3 of them, you're going to have $3 million. That ain't bad at all. If you hold on to it, if you don't sell it anytime, you're still going to be a millionaire. But if you sell it near the top and you buy back in near the bottom, now you've tripled the amount of money that you've made. This is why people invest. This is what investing is all about. And all it takes is a little bit of calm reflection, pull the emotion out, and it's really difficult. I understand it's really hard not to be emotional when you're looking at, I put a little over $3,000 into Bitcoin to buy one Bitcoin. Okay, I only need one Bitcoin, and it's now worth $100,000. It's really tough not to be really excited about that kind of money. And it's okay to be excited about it, but don't let your excitement and your greed, especially your greed, don't let your greed take over and tell you what to do. If it does, fine. You're not going to lose anything because, again, the bottom is going to be well above what you bought in at. But if you can hold on to, if you can suppress your greed and suppress your emotions a little bit enough to think straight, then you'll come out of this with far more money than you put into it. And we're talking about life-changing money. I mean, would $100,000 change your life? Would turning $3,000, $3,500, which is, about what the price was at the bottom of this market. Let's say you didn't get in until it was $5,000. Okay, so would turning $5,000 into $100,000 change your life? I certainly expect it to change my life. So yeah, absolutely. And again, if you're able to maintain control, not get too excited, think critically and logically with a little bit of knowledge, pull that money out near the top, let the market drop, The bear market is our friend. It allows us to take what we've gained, the money we've gained, and use it to buy more of the asset that we expect to go back up. So don't be upset by the bear market. It just means we get to buy more Bitcoin at a lower price. We get to take that $100,000 Bitcoin and sell it to the fools who want to buy at the peak. And then once it drops, we get to that $100,000 that we sold it for. Now we get to use that to buy even more Bitcoin and ride it back up again. And that's what this channel is about, is to help you realize that goal. Again, none of this is investment advice. I'm simply telling you, here's what I'm doing, and you decide whether or not this is something that you believe is worth doing. You decide whether you think I know what I'm talking about or not. Anyway, this has gone far too long. I just wanted to give you some information and remind you, and just relax. Sit back and enjoy the ride. If you've got some extra money and you want to put more into Bitcoin, go for it. Certainly, putting money into Bitcoin will certainly be worthwhile up to the point where it reaches its all-time high of $20,000 of Bitcoin. Once you're above the $20,000, you can still put money in. That's not a big deal, but you may find that some of your investment, if you're not able to pull the investment out in time, you may find that you're losing a little bit of money. But by and large, putting money in this point in the bull run, always, my opinion, is always worthwhile. Because once we go above 10 grand, once we go above $15,000 of Bitcoin, we're never going to see a Bitcoin priced lower than 10 grand again. We'll never see 4-digit prices on Bitcoin ever again. Once we go above $15,000, this is good for us. Take advantage. This is why they call it the accumulation phase. You are putting money into the asset. You're accumulating more of the asset with the intent that the asset will go up in price, so that the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's the whole idea of this. Once we get past the accumulation phase, then it's just a matter of sitting back and sitting back for the ride. Strapping yourself in, we're going for a ride. That's absolutely true with crypto and Bitcoin. It's going to take you for a ride. If you're not strapped in properly, you're going to get thrown out. It's time to strap in and let this just happen. Anyway, until next week, that's all I've got for you. Happy hodling.